We'll move to football. Phil Thompson, good morning to you.
Good morning, guys. You all right?
Flying.
You have to excuse my croaky voice this morning. I've got the man's lurgy.
Are you having a lot of deep and meaningful conversations about the crisis at Liverpool, Phil? Is that what's going on here?
Yeah, it's getting quite close to a crisis. It's hard. I'm in London at the moment, and so I was at a function last night. Everybody's asking the same, what is happening to Liverpool?
And what are you telling them what is the internal monologue about what's going on?
Well, the easy answer is, I don't know. It has got that bad. And you like to think you come up with answers. You like to think tactically, sort of emotionally, and you go through all those things. Was it Sadio Mane? People look back at that. I'd like to think that's too easy an option to just say Sadio Mane. But you look at it. I'd like to sort of put my finger on the press is just not working anymore. I don't know how and why. And people go to the legs in the midfield. They've got no legs in there. They're becoming too old. There's a little bit to that because our midfield is all sort of early 20s and then 30s. There's no in between with it all. So maybe there's a bit of that. Was there exhaustion from last season? Possibly. Emotionally from last season. There's all these things. I did try to put my finger on. It was a high press. It's just not working. And that's not just the midfield guys. That's not just those people. As we always say at Liverpool, it starts at the front. It starts with Bobby Firmino, started with Sadio Mane and Mo Salah. Somehow, some way, that is just not working because teams are getting through us too easily. And you see Alisson as being one of the top 4 goalkeepers making the most saves. That in itself tells you something's not right.
It's a worry. Sometimes we tend to overly complicate conversations around sport generally and around football, Phil. And I wonder, just to tap into what you're talking about there, in terms of trying to put your finger on the pulse of what exactly is going on, is there like a hope, blind or otherwise, in the background that basically once you can get all those players back on the pitch, the likes of Diaz, Firmino, you mentioned, Jota back, Kanate, Van Dijk back, and Liverpool expose themselves to another summer transfer window where admittedly I think everybody accepts they do have to bring in a couple of players in midfield, but those things start to come right, that then that's it, that it's nothing more complicated than that. Get the players back, continue the same system, and everything is going to be fine. Is that the blind hope here?
Well, that is the blind hope. It does sound great. You make it sound look absolutely, that it's all going to come right. But those players have to be then integrated. And as you know with Jurgen, when players, and he says, the players have been back in training, they're actually out on the grass, but you don't see them for another week after that. Now, Van Dijk is supposed to have been training, but will he be risked to go in on Monday against Everton? I don't think that'll be the case. I think we'll probably see Matip and Gomez have to be put back up again. So Kanate and Van Dijk, I think everybody would say, is your preferred centre-back partners. But and Diaz was probably our best player, along with Alisson, before he got injured. Jota, who provides great energy. So all these things are going to help. But I have not seen a Liverpool team for such a long time by so many players out of form. With that out of form becomes a lack of confidence, and nothing seems to work. The fullbacks were sort of, even before the World Cup, wasn't working. Klopp was changing Trent, changing Robbo. That wasn't so. And so the players lose. I think you lose a little bit of faith. Does the manager still fancy me? He's leaving me out. So there's all doubts come in, and I think that has not helped us. But yes, I think quite easily you get those sorts of players back, things should be decidedly better.
One of those players out of form, Tomo, is Fabinho, and I think he was described by Pep Lijnders last year as Liverpool's lighthouse, and the light's gone out. Certainly, when you look at his performances this season, he's not all there. But and I've seen some people suggest maybe he needs to revert back to more of a defensive role. How do you explain the lack of form from Fabinho in particular?
Well, I think one of the big things is that I think he had a new baby. And as we all know, guys, those sleepless nights and everything, and you go, it does adhere to footballers as well. who need to sleep, who need that energy, who need to do it. But his form has dropped off the cliff. I've never seen a player who was so good and you relied upon so much, who was that anchor. His legs, he couldn't seem to pick his legs up to sort of pass the ball. He couldn't pick his legs up to make a tackle. When he did make a tackle, he made a poor one. But I know he was ill last weekend. But if it was this big game and I was looking at picking this team, I would go for him. I would go for him on Monday. I would go for Milner on Monday. I would go for Henderson on Monday. I would go, and that's leaving out Thiago by Cetic, who's doing really well. But I think this is need of experience. It needs strength. Because Everton will go with Decore again, Garner Gay. They won't go with Anana, who are big, strong lads. And I think we need to match that. Is me saying we need to match them. You know, this should not be the case.
Does that same point apply to... I saw John Aldridge calling for Mo Salah to be dropped. Does the same point apply?
That is quite an easy option. But you can't, because sooner or later, and hopefully it's soon, is Mo's going to click. Mo's still been having chances. It's not come off. And sometimes, I don't know, I wasn't a striker, John was. You snatch at things, you know. And somewhere along the line, being at Anfield in a derby game, Mo, it'll just be the game, I think, to kick Mo on. I wouldn't leave him out for that. Always that possibility of him scoring goals. And somewhere, we are going to, those chances that we're having are going to start to go in, and somebody's going to get a bit of a doing, and I'm hoping it's going to be on Monday.
Are you concerned in any way, Tomo, about Trent Alexander-Arnold and Andy Robertson? Because in previous years gone by, when Liverpool were successful, they were hallmarks of that team, getting forward, there was no fear. There seems to be a reticence and certainly a change in style in a negative sense to Robertson and Trent this season. Yeah,
no, I would not disagree with you on that. They certainly have nowhere near hit the heights, and they were, as teams sussed that out, you know, has that been a sort of a big part of the opposition's way of playing, how they've negated them? But certainly they've not been as energetic, and certainly the assists haven't been anywhere near the case. Listen, quite that those things you can work on in training, you can deliver, but it's positions. And I think the positions have been probably another 5 to 10 yards further back, when normally they'd be confident. And Mo Salah would move in from that right-hand side, move into midfield, Trent would go, the ball would be a diagonal. You can see it in your mind's eye. That has been very few and far between. And that comes down to confidence. Do you go there? You've been getting pulled up for your defensive qualities, so I've got to stay back a little bit. So the whole function doesn't work. They have been a major part of us.
We have seen previously snippets of Jurgen Klopp's spiky side, Phil, over the last couple of years when things have not gone quite, not as badly as they are at the minute, but not quite according to plan. It seems to have moved into full whack now. He's having spats with the media every other week.
Yeah.
What, if you Google his name right now, the top searches are all about whether he stays or goes. That feels to me surely a million miles from where we're at in terms of Klopp and Liverpool.
I totally agree, and I'm one of them. Jurgen is the only one who can call that. If he thinks he's lost the faith of the fans, if he thinks he's not being listened to by the players, Jurgen Klopp has got a lot longer to be. If Jurgen Klopp was to leave Liverpool, we were looking for a new manager. He's one Jurgen Klopp, and I just don't think there's anybody out there. You look, and yes, Everton, you looked at the people who they were looking at for a new manager. There's not of the quality anywhere near out there. Jurgen Klopp is priceless. And I think this is just one of those things. People go the 7-year itch, but Jurgen has still got a lot to offer. And yes, he has been spiky. And I know, and I can understand, remember, God bless him, Gerrard Houllier got really touchy when things were going wrong. Managers are human beings. They feel the pressure when it comes on. And I think Jurgen has had that little bit of spats with people. Hopefully it will settle down when results come back.
We were chatting to Andy Mitten yesterday from United We Stand, Tomo, and he was talking about the Manchester United-Leeds United rivalry and how at the game during the week there was a lot of hateful abuse and songs being sung back and forth. Ahead of the Merseyside derby on Monday, what's the I guess temperature reading around the derby at the moment? Is it as vitriolic as maybe it used to be?
Yeah, you're quite right, and they have done, and it's horrible. And, I can't understand why these people don't to use the voices to support the team rather than finding things of how and discussing things of how to hate the opposition and do things and graffiti all over the place. It's not. People have feelings. People are still like that. They hate deep down. What do they get? Why does they get off on these awful chants, these awful things that do? There's no need for it. There's been human cost to a lot of these chants. It is not right, and people need to have a good look at themselves. I know there's emotion in sport. Just have a look at yourself and just be maybe big and brave enough to turn around. If some youngster wants to start something and go, do yourself a favour. Let's get behind the team. Let's support our team rather than having a go at other teams and their misfortunes. I don't get it myself, and I just think it's an awful, awful society problem.
An awful time on the pitch, Phil, to be playing Everton. You must be worried for Monday.
Yeah, it sounds incredible, doesn't it? Everton have been on this incredible run of 6 or 7 games unbeaten. You would think that was the way. Everton have had one win, and the Evertonians are absolutely looking forward to the derby. And some Liverpoolians are going, oh my goodness, it's been one win. And yes, our form's not been good, but we need to rally. We need to come. It's a derby. You need fire in the belly, ice in the brains to go into a derby match and make sure you perform in the right manner and you don't get carried away by the emotion. You are ready for it. The fans, the players, everybody. And I'm making it sound as though this is a huge game, not just as a derby, but going forward to the end of the season for Liverpool.
It's funny the importance as a derby it takes on. Maybe for all the wrong reasons, Phil, potentially.
Absolutely.
We asked you at the top, you were mentioning you were out and about last night and people were asking about Liverpool. I'm sure Man City is obviously the topic of conversation as well. Are you in any WhatsApp group with former players, or what are people saying about the City stuff?
No, we do. We have. It has been. Listen, if you'd have known and you'd have watched, this has been coming. People's been surprised, and Man City saying they were surprised by it. This has been coming for a while, and I can tell you this has been talked about for years in boardrooms up and down the country. So it's no surprise to football clubs in the inner house, and people were waiting for this, and this was taking place. And people would say, well, thankfully there isn't a time scale issue with the Premier League, whereas that was the case with UEFA. So what will be, will be. It's been a difficult. We're saying Liverpool's had a difficult time. Man City on the pitch has not been all great, but this has been a big sort of slap in the face for them as well.
The potential punishments, Tomo, have been quite wide-ranging. You look at points deductions or relegation to the Championship, or even retrospectively taking titles, Premier League titles off City. Is that an option that you think they should go down or will go down? I mean, I'm sure a lot of those Liverpool players of seasons gone by wouldn't particularly like to win a title that way. No,
it doesn't. It's as soon as Lucas Leiva put something on Twitter, he says, does that mean I'm a league champion from going back a few years ago? It depends where it all goes. What will be, guys. It's quite easy for me to be really sort of bitter and say, strip them of everything. You would like to think it will be a sensible option. It'll be a sort of, if it's not, it should be forgotten about, and as City say, we will move on. But it has to be done because it is something. People think this has just happened. This has been ongoing for a while, and as I say, all the football clubs in the Premier League have been aware of what things have happened, and I just think they were hoping that this just wouldn't be brushed under the carpet.
We were talking about sort of potential managerial movements, and Stevie G doesn't tend to get linked very much with Liverpool anymore, just given the career path he's been on before. Are you in contact with him? Do you expect him to be back in the game, Phil? What's your thoughts on the next move for Steven Gerrard?
Do you know what? There will be jobs coming up. You would think quite soon. The Leeds one is quite interesting. You wonder, sort of, obviously the lad from Spain looks like it's not coming. That might still rear its head, but there'll be other options for Stevie. And the Poland one was a strange one. But any publicity at times is good publicity for you, but it puts your name out there as a manager and to keep yourself. And Stevie needs to have a look at all these things. I didn't think that was right for him at his age, international manager's job. But I do think Stevie has still got a lot to sort of to look forward to. He had a lot to deal with, which can't really go into what was at Aston Villa. So it wasn't just plain sailing. Oh, you go in there, you put your tactics in, everything goes right. There's a lot of winning, a lot of faith, and a lot of trust from players, from the club. And maybe it all wasn't sort of it all right. But Stevie's still got a lot to offer. And, you know, people still talk about it, still get asked about it, Stevie for Liverpool. And maybe one day that might happen. Maybe needs a bit more experience.
Interesting, because that was my next question. Is there any point in asking you for a prediction for Monday?
Oh, of course, 3-1 for Liverpool. I do think Everton will score. I think we are still vulnerable in that area, but I think we're going to come good, and I think it'll be a 3-1 scoreline for the Reds. Who's
going to score, Phil? This is the question.
Listen,
where are the goals going to come?
Ivan Yates, God bless the guy. He always used to say that was Tomo's favourite scoreline, 3-1.
I met him in the street last week, Phil. He's not dead. He's he's very much alive and kicking.
No, but I'd love the guy. I loved our chats with Ivan.
Yeah.
And I do. No, I wasn't saying God bless him or anything that, because he was such a great guy. When I come to Ireland and we met, he was a fantastic fella.
Is Darwin Núñez going to score, Tomo? I think is the question on a lot of Liverpool fans' lips. Like, when is he going to score?
Do you know what? It's Gakpo as well.
Yeah, for sure.
But Darwin Núñez, the jury's still out. I like him because he runs forward. He causes problems. Yes, he may go offside, but he's energetic. He has to play against Everton. He will cause them. And I would like to see maybe Gakpo on the left, but Darwin down the middle. I think he would cause Everton problems with his direct runner, with his sort of aggressive nature. Again, you'd need a fire in the belly, ice in the brains for a derby match.
Catch up with you down the track. Phil, thanks a million.
Cheers, guys. Take care.
Thanks a million. As always, Liverpool legend Phil Thompson there. Always interested to get his thoughts ahead of the weekend.